So today we have a list of 5 dive watches that are really great dive watches for around $1,000. So when I say around $1,000, some of these you could actually purchase for $1,000 brand new. So that means on the secondary market, you can get them for a little bit cheaper than that. And some of them on the secondary market, you can get these for $1,000. Their retail prices are a little bit higher. And what I did was I tried to pick watches here that maybe aren't suited to me, but what I think are the best for the price, for their price range, some of the best watches that are currently on offer at that $1,000 mark. So if you're in the market for a sort of entry-level dive watch, this is a really good list. I'm going to start with one of my favorites on the list. That is the Mito Ocean Star Diver 600. Now, this is a watch that actually has an MSRP of $1,700, but you can get them for around $1,000 on the secondary market. As I mentioned, you can get them used for actually cheaper than that, and you can get them new in the gray market for around $1,000. Case size on this watch is 43.5 millimeters. You do get 600 meters of water resistance. So very good water resistance on here. You're getting Superluminova Grade X. So this is some of the best lume that I have seen a Swatch Group company actually use. And the lume on these watches is actually pretty good. You can get it on a bracelet, you can get it with a PVD coated case. It's going to be $1,700 no matter what you do. And like I said, it is a 43.5 millimeter case, so it is on the larger side, but there's a purpose behind that. It is a 600 meter dive watch, so that does make a lot of sense. Of course, you're getting a Powermatic 80. It gets a ceramic bezel. There are a lot of specs with this watch. The only thing I don't like is that they come with molded end rubber straps. So I definitely would go the route of the bracelet. The bracelets on Mito are excellent. It's an oyster style bracelet, and you get on the fly micro adjust, which I think is very, very important. Especially at this price range, it's really nice to get that because a lot of more expensive watches actually don't offer that. And it's pretty cool that they do. Before we go on, I just wanted to mention watchshopping.com. Watchshopping.com have sponsored this video, and they are a really great place to go for new and pre-owned watches. They carry dozens of the brands that we talk about here on this channel. They have them new and they have them used at great prices. They have brands such as Grand Seiko, Tissot, Omega, Casio. They have G-Shocks. They really do carry a ton of different watches on their website. Definitely check them out at watchshopping.com. Next on the list is a Japanese watch. It's actually the only Japanese watch that I have on this list. It is the Seiko 1965 Divers Reinterpretation. That is the 62 Mas, basically a reissue or reinterpretation of Seiko's first dive watch. And the specific one that I'm talking about is the SBDC 101, and there are a lot of them out there. They've made plenty of reinterpretations, but this is the one that I think looks the best. It is slightly different from the original, but they've done a really good job. You get like a blackish gray bezel on this, a blackish gray dial, beautiful bracelet. You do get a diver's extension. It is pressed, very similar to the SBDC 061, which is sort of a modern reinterpretation of their 1968 diver. So all of the watches in this sort of range get that diver's clasp, which I don't like. However, they are priced pretty well at $1,200. You can get them cheaper than that. So this you can get definitely under $1,000 if you wanted to. It gets 200 meters of water resistance. It gets the 6R35, which gives you 70 hours of power reserve. Has really nice proportions, 40.5 millimeters, 47.6 millimeters lug to lug, 13 millimeters thick. So it's a really nice everyday watch. The bracelets on these are excellent. And they're a very good looking watch with a lot of history. So Seiko obviously giving you a lot of history behind this watch. Their original dive watch from 1965. They have a really good trio of watches. The 1968 diver, which is the SBDC 061, that's sort of on line with this watch. And then of course the Captain Willard, which is their 1970 reissue. So a lot of really cool watches in this sort of line of watches, but I think out of all three of them, this is my favorite. Even though I own the SBDC 061, I still think this is probably my favorite out of the three. So the next watch on this list is a watch that I have not spoken about a lot on this channel. Usually I talk about the Skin Diver. However, the Longines Hydroquest is a really great sort of proposition for a value dive watch, an entry-level sort of luxury dive watch. It has an MSRP of around $1,700, but you can get these for around $1,000, give or take, depending if you're buying it new on the gray market or used, and especially used, you can get these under $1,000. They have some great specs. It gets a great movement as well. 41 millimeter watch, basically 11.9 millimeters thick. It's actually very thin for a 300 meter dive watch, which is really good. It gets the L888 movement inside, which is based on a 2892 from ETA. However, they increased the power reserve to 72 hours. So it's actually a very thin movement. It's their higher end movement from ETA, and it's a good looking movement also. You don't get to see the movement from the back. You get a really nice bracelet on here, case. Everything about this watch is really very, very nice and somewhat entry level luxury, as I mentioned. So next on the list is the Tissot Seastar 2000 Professional. This is a watch that's powered by a Powermatic 80. It gets all of the specs that we are looking for, especially from the Swatch Group. You get a textured dial with a wave pattern. It is fume. There are a few different dial colors. They've actually recently released some new versions of it. It's under $1,000, so you can get it for around $1,000 brand new if you want to. However, you can get these under $1,000 new and used on the gray market. So easy to get these for under $1,000. Really great watches. They are 46 millimeters. You get 600 meters of water resistance, as I mentioned, but you are getting a larger watch. It is a professional dive watch, and that's kind of the reason why it is larger. These are great for people with larger wrists or if you want a larger dive watch. However, all of the upgrades that they made to this watch versus the Tissot Seastar 1000, I think are awesome. And that's what I hope they would actually eventually get back to that 1000 watch, especially the dial, that fume pattern, the actual texturing. What a beautiful watch. Really awesome watches, especially for the price. And hopefully they come out with this version in a smaller model as well so that it could fit more people's wrists. Next on the list is a Christopher Ward. Christopher Ward, one of the best values out there. This is the C60 Trident Pro. So they have a Pro line. It gets 600 meters of water resistance. I've had this watch on my channel. It's just a good looking watch. It's a 40 millimeter watch. It's 12.9 millimeters thick and it's 47.6 millimeters lug to lug. You're getting a Swiss Salida movement in it, so it's a SW200. So it's not really as good as the Powermatic 80s that we're getting in these other watches, depending on how you look at it. You're getting Superluminova grade X1 GLC1, and you're getting it on the hands, the indices, and the bezel. So there's tons of lume on these watches. That bezel is in ceramic. As I mentioned, you're getting 600 meters of water resistance. You get a beautiful bracelet on these watches. You get micro adjust, and it's on the fly, and you get all of this for a price of $1,015. And if you go on the gray market, you would usually have to buy these used because there are not a ton of these watches available, gray market and new. However, buying them used, you can get them for around $600, which is an excellent price. Also, Christopher Ward have a sale once a year, and they do offer some of these watches at around 50% off. So you can get this watch brand new from Christopher Ward. It's right after Christmas, right after New Year's actually, and they actually offer this watch around $700. I've seen them there a few times. Excellent price for an incredible watch. Really, all of the watches that I mentioned here, all 5 of the watches that I mentioned here, I would be very proud to own. I've actually owned a few of them. I've owned, obviously, a few Mitos. I've owned a few Christopher Wards and a few Tissot. I really love all of these watches, and Seikos, of course, as you guys know, but just really good-looking watches with a lot of really awesome specs. And you really can't go wrong with any one of these. They're all great watches for every day. Depending on the size of the watch that you're looking for, obviously we're going from 40 millimeters all the way up to 46 millimeters, so you could really choose any one of these watches depending on your wrist size. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I just wanted to make a video where I talked about 5 solid choices, and I think these are 5 really solid choices for almost anybody, and size-wise, pretty much running the gamut. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.